What is up, everybody? We are back. We are back. We are back with more reactions with our favorite new ager, right? Our favorite new ager, Elizabeth April, has uploaded a video 2 or 3 days ago on October 27th. Uploaded a video. Well, it was a live stream. And she decided to dive deep into the spiritual stuff. Right? She decided to go deep and talk about ghosts, entities, and possession. So you guys know I had to react to this. Normally, she's talking about channeling aliens and all the other stuff, which technically in and of itself is not spiritual, but she's using spiritual techniques to facilitate this. And so therefore I debunk it, right? Aliens are not part of the spiritual community or anything like that. As much as she wants them to be, they're not. If they're real, they're physical entities. They're not spiritual entities. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. In this video, she talks about disturbing encounters with ghosts, entities, and possessions. So I had to jump on it and debunk this bullshit, asinine psychobabble. And that's what we're going to do today. Now, this video, her video is 47 minutes and 26 seconds. You know what that means. We're looking at probably around 2 hours of my video. You guys know my commentary is extensive, but it's never just me rambling. It's never not related to what's being said. You know, even though I might pause every 30 seconds or whatever, maybe even less, once every 10 seconds or whatever, I'm dropping gems, right? And that's what you have to do with people like this. You have to debunk everything that they say. You can't just watch the whole video and then, you know, write down little notes and then go, You gotta, in real time, debunk it as it's happening. Okay, you can't do a collective debunk. You gotta debunk individually everything that she says. That's nonsense. So I pause often. But today, we're going to do, like she called it, a Halloween special. And we're going to debunk the bullshit, the horse shit coming out of Elizabeth April's mouth. Okay? She can't defend any of this stuff. Nor would she want to, but it's because she can't, right? She'll release videos and comment saying things like, if people don't believe you, and if people try to debate you, she'll say nonsense like, just don't lower yourself to that. Why is that lowering? Why is defending, if what you believe is true, then you should be able to defend it. And the defense should be simple. If it's true, it should be a simple, coherent defense. But it's not true. You can't explain it. You can't defend it. So therefore you say, oh, don't lower yourself to people who want to debate you. And if they just don't believe you, then just don't talk with them and raise your vibration and speak to the trees and all this other bullshit. Fuck that. Defend your beliefs. If they're true, defend them. You can't. But I've said it before. The door is open. Elizabeth April, I would love to debate you. And it can be on a neutral platform. It doesn't have to be on my platform where my audience is going to, take control and all that other stuff. And you're not going to be able to get words in edgewise. It doesn't have to be on your platform where the exact same thing would happen, but just from your side. We can go on a neutral platform and we can debate. But you won't, because you have nothing to defend yourself with. It's all just, oh, well, everyone has their own way and there's not one right way. And, shut the fuck up. What is the defense for any of this? What makes any of this real? You've got nothing. And we're going to see that. We're going to see that today. So without further ado, I don't want this video to be any longer than it has to be. Well, actually, let me take a look at, because she has timestamps in here. So here are the timestamps. We've got introduction and disclaimer. Of course, the disclaimer is going to be take it or leave it. If it doesn't resonate with you, it's not for you. That's not how truth works. You can't go, I have evidence that this guy is a murderer, but if it doesn't resonate with you, then he's not a murderer. That's fucking ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. If it's the truth, then he's a murderer. If you've got evidence, if you've got actual foundation to back up your claim that that guy over there is a murderer, then it's true. If he's caught on camera shooting somebody for no reason, not self-defense, just running up on somebody and bang, running up on somebody, stab, he's a murderer. It doesn't matter if it resonates with you or not. That's what's true. I'm an American. Doesn't matter if it resonates with you or not. That's what's true. I'm American. I'm black. It doesn't matter if it resonates with you or not. That's what's true. This is absolute, like, that's what the introduction is going to be. Or that's what the disclaimer is going to be. It's going to be 4 minutes of her just saying, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't debate with people. Don't. I should have watched this video before recording this. I didn't. I'm going in blind. So hopefully I won't have to skip too much around. Then she'll get into the definitions of ghosts and entities. I can't wait for that. We might skip the introduction. I mean, I'll listen to some of it, but we might be skipping because I don't need 4 minutes of her just bullshitting on, oh, don't believe other people if they try to tell you it's wrong. Some nonsense like that. Then she's going to talk about disturbing encounters overview. Then the first story is a disturbing entity removal. So she exorcised a spirit. I wonder how. Oh, she just closed her eyes and let the energy out and she felt the energy and bullshit. Second story, energetic entity and anorexia. Spirits are causing you to be anorexic. That sounds like a Christian thing. Oh, the demons, that's the spirit of anorexia. Like how Protestants, the evangelicals will say things like, that's the spirit of poverty, or the Jezebel spirit, or the spirit of anger, and all this other stuff. That's it. Kind of sounds like that's what she's going to be saying. And then lessons from a disturbing case, and then conclusion and upcoming events. We'll probably skip that too. We're not your audience, so we don't care about your upcoming events or anything like that. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I've already been talking for 7 minutes here. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I might be skipping through the introduction. I'll listen to some of it. If it's not relevant, then we'll just skip right to the very next part. So let's see what let's see what bullshit. Let's see what fart Elizabeth April has to say.
Huge disclaimer right off the bat. I am not kidding when I say disturbing in the title. I racked my brain for seriously some of the most unsettling experiences I have had with ghosts and possessions and entities and paranormal. So this is not for children. I would actually highly recommend anyone under maybe 16 not to watch this video. I know that some of you play this in your house openly.
Do you think anyone's like, I hate when people say stuff like that. Do you not know how teenagers work? Now a parent might be like, okay, hey, get out of the room. But if I was a 13-year-old boy and I heard you say that, that's going to make me more interested. I think that a lot of these creators who say stuff like that, they use it as a marketing tactic because you were a teenager. So you should know that teenagers don't listen to advice. They don't listen to good advice. Most of them don't. There are some teenagers who, have a more, mature way of thinking. But most teenagers are not out here taking good advice. If you tell them don't do something, they're probably going to go do it. Don't smoke, don't drink, don't go to parties. Guess what they all do? Smoke, drink, go to parties. Not all of them, of course, but come on. So anyone under 16, they're going to be like, oh, I shouldn't watch this? Turn the volume up. Put it on the big screen. Let's watch.
Or maybe you watch it with your family or your kids, and that's cool, and most of the time, that's fine. But this one is definitely not for the faint of heart. So I highly recommend you watch this at a different time if you are sort of openly watching this with children around. And then also just a really big disclaimer, there is reports of, it's disturbing. It is. And
what are there reports of? Reports of what? Nothing? You got to make it up?
You know, some of these things include just death and other things that...
Well, we are talking about ghosts. I mean, I don't know any ghosts that are alive. Like, what? Ay. And her audience is just eating it up. Like, yup, Like, this is fucking ridiculous, dude. Fart all over this. This is ridiculous.
Can be very disturbing for some viewers. Also, in this episode, there will be talks of sexual trauma and what is it called? End of life type of things. Anyway, it gets pretty intense.
I wonder
so
why.
That's not your
We're talking about ghosts.
No big deal. I know not everyone on this channel is into sort of the paranormal and the creepy stuff. This is a good one to skip. If you're all about the paranormal and ghost stories and entities and possessions and like that's your jam, then this is the right video to watch.
That stuff is not paranormal. That stuff is occult. Necromancy, oh my God. I don't want to call her out of her name, but Jesus fucking Christ. Like, this is retardation to the finest, man.
I figured I would put together a spooky episode for this week because we've got Halloween coming up. And what I do for a living has a darker side. And I think that there's actually a lot of educational moments in the stories that I'm going to be sharing. I also wanted to put out there too, I did get permission. I know this is going to sound really weird, but whatever. I have to state.
Everything you say sounds weird, so stop it. And that was a weird spot to pause on. You look like you're high. But anyway.
I got permission from the spirits involved in these stories to mention these stories because they are very intense and emotional, and I don't want to use someone's trauma as entertainment. Despite what some people say about remote viewing and that being breaking some trust and boundaries, I have a very high spiritual morality. I always ask permission from someone's higher self or conscious self before ever looking into information. And when it comes to even just client stories or ghost stories, I also ask permission. And then the other thing that I've done, just for a little bit of energetic, healthy boundaries today, is when we listen to real stories, real accounts.
Right. How much? Okay, I'm gonna skip, guys. I'm gonna skip up to her to her definitions of ghosts and stuff like that. I'm gonna skip up to that because this is retarded. So we're gonna skip up to the next part. After the introduction and after the disclaimer. Yeah, this is retarded. So we're just going to skip up and let's get started.
So let's just talk about ghosts and spirits and entities for a second. I kind of want to define them because there is a difference and not everyone knows the difference between.
Neither do you.
So first of all, ghosts or spirits, but I'll refer to them as ghosts today, are essentially souls who have left their body and have not crossed over. So essentially there's a fragment of them that is still sort of tethered or stuck to this realm. I kind of call it the liminal space, or sometimes I refer to it as purgatory. Maybe that's because I grew up with a Catholic background, but it is sort of a space where they're stuck. And what I do and what I've always done...
Purgatory is not stuck. But this is not a Christian lesson. Purgatory is not stuck. It's like a waiting room. You're not stuck, but whatever.
As a medium, because I do a lot of mediumship work as well, and I want to talk about that a little bit before getting into these disturbing cases, is I always cross a ghost or a spirit over. I can go to a hotel, I can drive by a cemetery.
That is a thing,
and
you can do
basically I encounter ghosts in my daily life all the time, and I don't talk about it. And I've encountered ghosts and spirits in my daily life all the time since I was a very young child. It took me a little while, but pretty much after the age of probably 20 years old, I took the responsibility to ensure that every time I encountered a ghost or a spirit, I would always cross over that ghost or spirit into the light, make sure that they're in a good place. If they wanted to, I would never push them into that, but I would give them the opportunity.
If they wanted to, they would do it. If they wanted to, they would just cross over themselves. The bullshit is real with this one.
So just know that I'm like highly against the paranormal ghost hunting shows. And let me tell you, I have been invited to so many Discovery and History Channel ghost hunting shows before as the main ghost hunter. And I can't do it. And
yeah, you can't do it. Going on a show like that would be great for your audience, would be fantastic for you to get more. I mean, you'd probably gain 10, 20, 30,000 new subscribers, not on your YouTube, but like to your personal like website. And that could be money in your pocket, but you don't do it because you can't do it. Like you just said, you can't do it. You'd be exposed on national television, right? You'd be exposed. You only give channelings and things like that in your own private environment where you have control. The minute someone else has control over the editing and the formatting and all the other stuff, you're not going to be part of it because you can't bullshit your way out of it. You can't bullshit your way around it. That's why you don't do it. That's why you don't do it. Because you can't bullshit. It has to be behind your paywall on your website. You don't even do it here. You used to, but then people like me started making these types of videos responding to you. And I'm sure either you've seen them or someone in your audience saw it and sent it to you. And so now you move everything behind your paywall. You'll still do these informational videos, but you no longer do those public, you used to do these Q&As where you would let people send questions to you via email or whatever, and then you would go live and you would channel the answers. You don't do that anymore. I mean, you might do it, but it's behind a paywall. You don't do it for free anymore because people like me can call you out, debunk you, and prove you wrong. So of course you're not going to go on national television in front of however many millions. It's not as much as it was before streaming, but however many millions of people. So of course you're not going to go do that because you don't have control over the editing, the filming, the formatting, you don't have any control over it. And you don't want to give that control up to someone who might not be might not cater to what you want and what you need. So come on.
The reason why I can't do it is I cannot use ghosts and spirits as entertainment.
Shut up.
There's
Shut the fuck up.
So
Shut the
gross
fuck
and
up.
icky about that.
That's the most ridiculous response. That is the most ridiculous response. You can't use it as entertainment? Then what is this? What is this? Is this not entertaining? Is your audience not? Are you not entertained? Gladiator? Like, come on.
Let's go ahead and anger the spirits of this location so that we get a really great shot or a really great moment on camera. And then let's just like peace out. It just feels really wrong.
That's what you're supposed to do. What else are you supposed to do? Have a party? No. You contact the ghosts, you get rid of them, and then you move on. What else is there? Shut the fuck up. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're spewing bullshit out of your mouth. And your audience eats it up. Not me. I'm spitting it out. I'm spitting it out. I'm spitting it right in your face. This is bullshit. You're lying. You are lying. You don't go on those shows because you can't do what you claim to do. You can't. You can't do it. You can't. So, shut up. Be real for once. Be real for once in your fucking life. You can't. That's why you would never debate me or anyone like me, or because you can't defend it. You basically all but said it. No one except your audience is going to believe that ridiculous answer. I can't use ghosts for entertainment. Then what the fuck do you have a YouTube channel for? Oh, you can use the Galactic Federation for entertainment, but not ghosts? That's ridiculous.
And I just can't be a part of it. So I've always said no to those opportunities, but I've always had ghosts and spirits in my life. And then I just want to define entities as well. So an entity can really be any energy that is, what did I put here? I wrote it down. Yeah, energetic being operating from a frequency of fear. So we're talking about dark entities. I know that there's a lot of...
That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous notion. I would say an entity can technically be any kind of spirit, but I'm one for classification. So I would categorize an entity as a spirit that either doesn't have a classification, like we just don't know where to class that spirit, or it's manufactured. So it's an egregore or a servitor or a thought form or a tulpa, right? It's not a legitimate veritable spirit. It wasn't created by God or by another type of spirit or something like that. It was created by the collective energies and workings of humans. That's what I would classify an entity as, right? Now, that doesn't make it 100% valid. Again, most people in the occult would probably say the words spirit and entity are synonymous. That may very well be the case. I prefer spirits are specific veritable things. They exist whether or not we exist. I would argue that entities like thought forms, servitors, egregores only exist because we exist. There would be no egregores if humans never existed because there was nothing to create it. Therefore, I would consider that an entity. But to say that entities are only dark is a retarded, asinine notion.
People who use the word entities in a variety of ways. Let's just go ahead and talk about dark entities today. And then typically these dark entities feed off of other beings' lower vibrational emotions, emotions like anger and shame and anxiety, and essentially those lower emotional states fuel these entities. And the word entities can really be attached to poltergeist type experiences. They can be attached to parasitic type entities. Okay. Sometimes the entities are earthbound, and sometimes they are definitely not of this planet, but they are hanging around, all right? That is a whole world that I have experienced, not willingly, definitely not willingly, but I've been thrown into that world, honestly, since a child, and I've been navigating it since then. And I want to mention that as a remote viewer, once you learn how to get out of your body and experience the realms beyond the embodied realm, you start to encounter ghosts and spirits and entities, and you learn the darker side as well as the lighter side of this reality.
But I would argue that you've not
through the 12 dimensions. So it does get pretty wild. All right. Let's just dive right into the first story. Today I have 3 stories for you. They're all very disturbing. So please, once again, like fair warning, this is not going to be a video for everyone, but I do think that there are sort of things to learn from each one of these stories.
Like what?
The third one is going to be the most disturbing. I'm going to try and keep the gruesome details at a minimum, but despite that, they are all really like unsettling stuff. But like I said, it is spooky season. Let's get into it. All right, so the first one is, they're not fun. None of these are fun stories, but it's cool to sort of recount this time in my life. So when I was
For entertainment purposes, right? I can't use ghosts for entertainment, but it's fun. So, entertaining, perhaps? Ridiculous.
I want to say 20, maybe 19, 20 years old. I was full on into, remote viewing, deep states of meditation, astral projection, lucid dreaming, past life regression, reading auras. I mean, you name it, I was there and into all of it. One of the things that I ended up doing for, I would say, about a year is I don't want to call myself a ghost hunter, but I would remove entities and possessions and poltergeists from homes.
How? How'd you do
So I was in school at the time, I was in university, and to make some extra money on the side, I decided to put myself out there as this sort of entity remover. And so I lived in Canada at the time.
I did the same,
used
not
the
with
website.
entity removal, but I did the same thing in college to make extra money. I worked at Blockbuster for 2 weeks and then I quit, and then I worked at Dairy Queen for like 2 months and then I quit. And so to help make extra money, I started sending emails out to the campus, which I didn't get in trouble. I thought I would get in trouble for it, but I didn't. No one said anything. And both teachers and students would reply, and I would offer my tarot reading services, my palm reading services, things like that. I didn't do any ghost stuff, but I did palm readings and tarot readings and basically divination for people, and got quite a bit in the way of clients. So I can relate in that way, but for some reason, I just feel like she's bullshitting.
Like Kijiji, believe it or not, which is essentially the Canadian version of Craigslist, to put out my services. Hey, this is who I am, this is what I do. I think I was super cheap too. Pay me $60 and I will come to your house and I will remove the entities from your house, and I will guarantee it. And if you have any other issues or paranormal issues moving forward.
I also made money by writing people's papers. I was a really good writer, to the point where for those of you who know, I've made a couple movies, blah, blah, blah. I've got an IMDb credit, all that. I started writing screenplays, but I was a really good writer, or am a really good writer. And I would charge people to like write their papers. And even if it was a subject I didn't know, I'd be like, give me but this is before AI and all that. I was like, give me like 2 weeks to like do some research, and then I will write your paper for you. And I charged it was $100 for the first 3 pages, and then $20 for every page after that. I made bank doing that. Way more money than I made doing the tarot readings and stuff like that. No college kid wants to write their own paper. And so I did that quite often. But anyway, back to this.
I will come back free of charge, right? And that was my deal. And I did this, and I drove a motorcycle at the time, so I would ride up to people's houses and with my sage bundle and geared up for whatever I was about to encounter. So one of these encounters was really interesting and, like I said, quite disturbing. So I ride up to this house, take off my motorcycle gear, and the second I walk into this house, I am honestly immediately confused, because there are pictures of Jesus everywhere. Like, we are talking like crosses everywhere. Those like sort of metallic-y, shiny pictures of Jesus, like everywhere. No. And then I'm not even kidding you, okay? There is a full-on replica, full-size baby Jesus in a cradle. This is not Christmas time, okay? On the coffee table. And so we go to the living room and we sit down on the couch, and I'm sitting with a man and a woman, and I'm looking around and I'm immediately thinking, why am I here? Because you're clearly very religious, and I guess in some extreme religions, possession and exorcisms are a thing. But I was confused. Here I am with my sage bundle, And so we sit down and I said, tell me what's going on in your house. And they said, well, this has been going on since we bought the house, which has been about 2 years now. And recently the activity has increased dramatically, and it's really making us feel unsettled. So they were talking about cupboards in their kitchen slamming, opening and closing, especially at nighttime. They were talking about hearing not just footsteps walking around constantly, but like sounds of like scratching and sometimes screaming in the background. Doors would open and close on their own. Objects would move and sometimes even fly off of shelves and break, like a cup or something like that. And they were scared. I mean, this poor couple, like this is a full sort of poltergeist.
A simple $20, maybe $30 with shipping witch bottle would have solved this problem. Didn't need to call Elizabeth April and pay her $60. A witch bottle would have solved this. Like, I had a friend over the summer who, was not dealing with anything like in that, the cupboards are opening and closing and the fridge is unplugged and all this other stuff. But he has a infant child. And of course, children are more open to energetic and spiritual things than adults are. And so he was like, his daughter would be, in her crib and they have the, I don't know what it's called, but like the camera that like you can watch your children from your room, especially if you have a big house. They have a big house. They live in pretty much a mansion. They have a big house, and the daughter's room is like all the way across to the other side of the house. And so they have this camera system where they can watch her, and they would hear her in the middle of the night, like standing up, like looking over the edge of the bed, talking, or the edge of the crib, talking to someone, like having full-blown conversations. And I mean, as much as you can at 2-3 years old. And then they would bring her into their room and let her sleep in their room. And she would do the same thing. She would sit on the edge of the bed and she would be looking in the corner. She would be, looking directly at something and talking. And so it freaked them out. And then they would say that the previous owners, who actually is family, would also say that their daughter would do the same thing, would be talk. So it can't be just her imaginary friend. Their daughter would do the same thing, would be in the crib, or when they're, when they bring her into her room, would just be talking to something, right? Their daughter's a little older and would say things like, there's this one bathroom, she doesn't like going in that bathroom. And actually my goddaughter made that same claim. I don't like going in that bathroom. It feels weird in here. It's craziness in this bathroom. And so they asked me to come over and to get rid of it. Now, I didn't just do a witch bottle. They're friends. So I did a full banishing and cleansing there. But you can fucking get rid of these things with a simple witch bottle. Like, you can trap the spirit and then you can take it and either bury it somewhere or take it to a stream and, release it there, whatever. You don't need to pay Elizabeth April $60 to come and close her eyes and light some sage and go, positive energy, the unicorns, the birds and the bees, and the clouds and the trees and the rain, and boom, the ghost is gone. Like that, in an occult spiritual sense, that doesn't make any sense. How would that get rid of a spirit? Sage in and of itself doesn't get rid of spirits. You would need to do something else in order to get rid of spirits. It's not just sage. Right? That's the problem with the New Age. They think everything is just one thing. Magic is just intention. Right? It's not. Intention is important. You need to have an intent, but it's not just that. Getting rid of spirits is not just sage and closing your eyes and smiling and saying some nice nature words. A witch bottle could have solved this problem.
Type of experience. And so I knew that probably part of their reliance on Jesus and God was because of the poltergeist type of experience that they were having at the home, which is fine. I mean, I do believe in Jesus. I believe he was an ascended man.
And also, why would you, okay, so just because they have a ghost, now they believe in Jesus, they couldn't have been religious all their lives, at least one of them, and then that person brought the spouse into it or whatever. It's only because they have a ghost. If they didn't have a ghost, they'd be atheists or something else. That's a ridiculous statement. Like, you should probably get confirmation on that from those people instead of just assuming, oh, the only reason you have a baby Jesus in here, the only reason that there's crosses and stuff up is because you guys have a ghost. If it wasn't for this ghost, you'd be scientists and you'd be, you know, agnostic or atheist or whatever. Like, come on, man. Ridiculous.
I believe in calling upon him when you need a little bit of extra love. So I'm down with that.
No, you're not.
But whatever they were doing was not working. So I said, okay, do you have any history of this house? Do you have any documentation of this house? No. I mean, as far as we know, there's been nothing sort of that has gone on in this house. All right, great. Okay, well.
You mean like unaliving or anything? Because I don't know about Canada, but in America, that needs to be disclosed. If somebody was unalived, well, why am I saying that? This is YouTube and my own platforms. This isn't TikTok. If someone was murdered or otherwise killed, even if it was a suicide or whatever, in that house, that needs to be disclosed. I don't know about Canada, but I know here in the US, that's a requirement. And you could literally sue someone if they sold your house, did not disclose that. And you can get out of your mortgage. And I mean, that might be a little more difficult, but you can get out of it and all that other stuff if, you know, the realtor wasn't on the up and up. Now, if it's a for sale by owner, if it's an FSBO, I don't know if the laws are different. I don't know if I just, like, for example, my friend brought the house from his uncle? Nah. Yeah, uncle. He bought the house from his uncle. So, and as far as I'm aware, there was no realtor involved with that. So I don't know if that's a requirement, but I know for a real estate agent, if you're a realtor in the United States, it is required. So is that what she means by documentation, or else why would I have documentation on the happenings? I'm not sitting here taking notes and filing it away of every ghost in you know, like every haunted happening. So I wonder what she means by that.
Well, I told them, I said, you can follow me around the house or you can stay here, but I'm going to go ahead and burn this sage. And as I walk around, I'm going to stop in each room. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to tune into the energy and I'm going to see what I see. And typically when I close my physical eyes, I can open my third eye and take a look at things energetically. And this is when I encounter ghosts and spirits and entities.
But can you explain this process though? Can you do what I've done in hundreds of videos over the last 5 years on TikTok, on Patreon, on YouTube, soon to be school? I didn't mention this earlier. I know we're over a half hour in. Do consider joining my school. My school community. The link will be in the bio here, and I'm sure it'll pop up at some point, probably at the beginning of this video. I'll have it pop up. Please do consider joining my school. I'm going to be moving off of Discord. I'm going to be moving off of Patreon, and I will only be on YouTube, which will only get some videos. I'll be on TikTok, which is only going to be short form and live streams, and then my instructional and deeper informational videos, my grimoire readings and elucidations, my lectures on Hermeticism, my courses, my classes, those will all be over on my school platform. So please do consider supporting me over on school. If you're already on Patreon, I would urge you to cancel your Patreon subscription and move that on over to school. Check out my school, again, link in the bio.
Other things. So I do this, and they wanted to follow me around. All right. So there was nothing in the main level of their house. There was nothing in the basement of their house. And at this point, I'm kind of confused and honestly a little bit worried because I'm thinking, I'm not seeing anything.
Which is also weird. Now, I'm not saying that spirits might not have, like, if the place really is haunted, that spirits wouldn't have a particular place that they would prefer, but spirits aren't stuck in one room, right? They can travel throughout the home. And so there's nothing in that room. That's a little dubious, but I'm not going to harp on that. Again, spirits can have a preferred place, right, that they would prefer to inhabit, but it's not like they can't go from that area. Like if it's a closet in the attic that they're in, it's not like they can't go to the basement. Like that, whatever.
I don't see a ghost. I don't see a spirit. I don't see a portal that's opened. What if I can't help this couple and they're so scared and they're clearly using me as a last resort from some random ad on Kijiji? And then we got to their upper level of their house. It was a very small house. Their upper level had 3 bedrooms, and that was it. It was 3 bedrooms and then a bathroom. And it was like a small hallway, and each bedroom was quite small. The second I got upstairs, there was a chill that came through. And I close my eyes, and I see very clearly, how do I put this? It was almost as if I was taken back in time, and an entire scene played out in front of me, just like it had whenever that took place, 5 years ago or what have you. And unfortunately, what I saw was a young man who was probably around the age of 16 or 17 years old, very brutally murdering his entire family, which consisted of his mother and father and younger.
Let me see something really quick, guys. Oh, this is my school right here. It is brand new, so we don't have a lot of members. I literally just started it 2 days ago, and I just started marketing it. So please do consider joining the Mystics Conclave over on my school platform, and we will be getting into some deep occult, esoteric, and mystical work. But let me check something. In Canada, is it required for a real estate agent to disclose if someone died in a house? In Canada, a real estate agent is generally not required to disclose if someone died. Okay, all right. So, because I was gonna use that as a debunk, but that's not true. I know in the U.S. it is true. In Canada, it is not required. The law focuses on physical defects that affects the property's value or safety, not stigmas like death. There is no obligation, or in Ontario, there is no legal requirement for sellers or agents to disclose a past death, even a murder or suicide. British Columbia states there is no legal requirement. Okay. Alberta does not require it. Quebec, it's required in some cases. Quebec law requires sellers to disclose issues that may reduce property's value. This may include a suicide, but courts have had varying interpretations. I don't think she's lived in Quebec. I believe it was Ontario that she's from, but don't quote me on that. But I'm almost quite certain it's not Quebec. She's never mentioned Quebec or French or anything like that. So I don't believe she's from Quebec or frequented Quebec or anything like that. So, okay, it's not a requirement in Canada to disclose that sort of a thing. Okay. We're getting back to it.
Younger sister. And it was the one room off to the left that was the worst. That was the first room with both his dad and his mom. And I believe the weapon that he used was, I want to say it was an axe. It was something that was handheld and sharp. So, yeah, it was definitely an axe because of the way that he was using it. So he ended up killing his father first, and then moving on to his mother, and then went into his sister's room, found her, did the same, and then he ended up taking his own life. And I am seeing this play out in front of me. Typically, I will see a ghost or a spirit or an entity, and I will ask the entity questions to gain access to the information or the story or the trauma.
How?
And in this case, I just saw it playing out. Like I saw the way that the room was set up, I saw that the scene playing out. And as I'm seeing this, I'm wondering, do I verbalize what I'm seeing? Do I tell this poor couple what happened in their home? And they're clearly very...
Well, first, I need you to explain the process. Just closing your eyes and my third eye opened and now I can see all this stuff doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. You're basically saying that you're scrying without scrying. And that's ridiculous. So can you explain from a esoteric perspective how any of this is working? Can you please explain that? You can't, you won't, but Come on.
Very religious. And I did. I was totally honest. And I went from room to room and I told them what had happened because there was a death in each of the rooms, and then he took his own life in his own room. And so then I told them what had happened there. And then I told them that I'm going to see if there are any spirits from that event, from that trauma, that I can help cross over. And yes, indeed, there were. There were 4 spirits altogether, 4 ghosts altogether. 3 of them were the mother, the father, and the sister. And they were all just very scared and essentially hiding. Like if you could hide as a ghost, they were hiding. And then there was the very
Can you explain that? Can you explain why they would be doing that? They're ghosts. Like hiding from what? Another ghost? Can you explain that, please? Please explain that. They're not hiding from a demon or, something that might be able to have influence and power over them. They're hiding from another ghost. Can you explain this, please? No, we're just going to have to accept what you say and just believe your story. Take it or leave it. Well, I'm leaving it. And the reason I'm leaving is because you can't explain it. That's your cop-out. Take it or leave it. That's your cop-out. I don't have to explain anything. Take it or leave it. Well, no, you don't have to explain anything. No. But being able to explain would go way further than just believe me. And if you don't believe me, then you're low vibrational and every other ad hominem that you can throw at me.
Bold young man who was essentially the poltergeist or the entity. And he was the one causing all of the ruckus. He was angry. He was confused. He was, I don't want to say, guilty, full of shame. He was unsettled, like extremely unsettled. And what I found through doing a lot of clearings.
So he feels guilty. He's full of shame. So spirits can hide, but they can't apologize. Like if he feels guilty and he's full of shame, why doesn't he go to his ghost parents and his ghost sister and go, guys, I'm so sorry. Can't ghosts see through walls? Can't ghosts just see each other? Like, I don't understand. How are they hiding? And why isn't he coming in and apologizing? This doesn't make any sense.
Possession, entity removals from both people and locations, and I've done many of these,
Sure you have.
Is that entities are just dark souls that are misunderstood. And one thing that they need the most is love. For someone to listen to their side.
They need love.
And so it's coming back to me.
Oh, sure.
I was like, who did I cross over first?
You're making it up on the
spot.
spot.
So interestingly enough, I went to the mother, the father, and the little girl. I was able to cross over the little girl quite quickly and quite easily. She was ready to go, but she also wanted to make sure that her parents were going to go with her. And I said, yes, if you cross over first, I'll make sure that they follow you and they come to where you're going. Like, you won't be alone, right? Like, they wanted to stay together, essentially, which is kind of sad. But also not, because that makes sense.
Yeah, why is that sad?
So
also, why would you let the little girl go first? If this is a parent-child situation, at least have one of the parents go first, and then the child. Because if the child is scared, don't send her by herself. Send a parent first, so that way when it's the child's turn, you could be like, one of your parents is already over there. So it's not like, because you could have been lying to her. Like, oh yeah, sure, I'll send your parents, and then you never do it, and then she's over there by herself. So why not send a parent first? She still has another parent here comforting her or whatever you're claiming that these spirits can do, and then you send the child over. Making it, but see, when you make stuff up on the spot, you can't think of stuff like that. You just gotta say whatever lie comes to mind.
The 3 of them first, cross over the little girl. She was ready to go. She wanted to make sure her parents were coming with them. I talked to the mother and the father, and what was so fascinating is that they wanted to make sure that their son would cross over as well. And
then why couldn't they just go say that to him? Especially if he's feeling shame and guilt and all this other stuff, go and reconcile. Like, this does not make any sense. You are bullshitting. You're making this shit up on the spot. Thumbs down. Boo. Tomato motherfucking tomato. Come on. That's the stupid face you're making right now. Ridiculousness.
Just thought that was so, I don't know if profound is the right word, but the amount of forgiveness and compassion that you have to have as a soul to want your son who did this to you.
But they couldn't just give it. They had to wait for you. That's the problem with these psychics and these mediums. Everyone's just waiting. No spirits can do anything until the medium comes and gives them permission to do it and all this other bullshit. Why couldn't the fucking son just go to his parents? They're ghosts. Oh, they're hiding? Where? You're a ghost and I'm a ghost. I can see you. What the fuck are you talking about? They're hiding? Where? I can see you. So why couldn't the son just go and say, hey, mom, dad, little sister, I'm sorry, guys. I was on drugs or drunk or had mental issues or whatever. Wasn't in my right frame of mind. I am sorry. I fucked up. Can you forgive me? Nope. That didn't happen. Had to wait for Elizabeth April to get there. Bullshit, dude.
I don't know. I think that's just like so honorable. And so they actually would not leave. Like they would not cross over until I helped their son cross over first. And they were worried about him because even as a soul and a spirit attached to the house, he was angry. He was misunderstood. He was confused. So I went to him.
So his parents couldn't help him. They needed to wait for you. You're the psychologist with a license and a degree and all that other stuff. You're the one that had to come and give spiritual therapy. Shut the fuck up, dude. What are you talking about? This makes no sense from a spiritual perspective. It makes sense from your asinine New Age perspective because in your New Age view, anything and whatever anybody says has to be true. Take it or leave it. But when you start asking actual questions, foundational questions like I'm asking, nothing makes any sense. It's all just made up on the spot.
And when I went to him and I talked to him, he mentioned that for many months leading up to that moment, one of the things that he mentioned is, I didn't mean to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't mean to do it. I really loved them. They really loved me. It wasn't my choice. And what he explained to me was that there was actually an entity attachment, so a low vibrational energy attachment that had clung on to him in the months following up to this moment, this night, this tragic event. And the entity was telling him every single night, you've got to do this.
Yeah.
You've got to kill
That sounds like mental issues. That sounds like he might be schizophrenic or something like that. Doesn't sound like he has a spirit, an attachment. Stop being an evangelical. You're being the New Age version of an evangelical. Okay? It's not a spirit. Sounds like he has mental issues. Sounds like he's schizophrenic or something along those lines. Okay? If he got actual help, assuming the story is even real, of course we get no names, we get nothing, we can't go and do research on this. I'm sure this would have been in the news, but nope, can't get any information. We just have to believe Elizabeth April. Sounds like he was schizophrenic. But you want your $60, don't you?
Family. I don't know necessarily. I don't remember. It was a long time ago now. But essentially the entity just kept on him about it. And he got more. Also,
that's another thing. Why are you, you said everywhere you go, you see spirits, and any chance you get, you remove them and cross them over. So then why are you telling old stories? Why aren't you recounting a story from 6 months ago, a year, something that's more fresh in your mind? Because you're making it up. That's why. Why are you telling us about what happened when you were in college? If you do this all the time, if everywhere you go, every time you go to a hotel or a new place or whatever, you see ghosts and you remove them, I'm sure there's a more recent example that you could give us rather than having to go back to when you were 19, 20.
More depressed and more anxious and more withdrawn and more angry and more just low vibrational. And eventually he ended up leaving his body that night. The entity took over his body, which is part of the possession part. And in doing so, he blacked out. And the entity caused absolute mayhem.
Sure.
I know that I never talked to the entity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a therapist or a psychologist or a psychoanalyst or anything like that, but that sounds like, schizophrenia with some sort of bipolar, whatever. That doesn't sound like someone's possessed. Stop it. You don't know what real possession looks like. You have no idea what ritual possession looks like. Dumb face.
Nowadays, I would also kind of try and talk to the entity or get the entity's perspective too as to why the entity even did that to begin with. I obviously just dealt directly with the family members and this poor, it's hard to say that this young man is a victim in this, but this happens all the time.
No, it doesn't.
And if you're a fan of
mental illness happens all the time.
You know that there are a lot of cases where someone blacks out and does something absolutely horrific.
Yeah,
that
because
they
they're mentally
never
ill.
Previously do. So whether you're religious or just open-minded, this is something that happens. And we're going to get into more possession and more ghost stories and more of this in the next story. And so I listened to this young man's story, and I told him that he is forgiven and that his parents love him. And once again, a lot of these spirits, a lot of these poltergeists, a lot of these entities, they just need to be listened to. And I told him that his parents would not cross over and join his sister unless he crossed over first. And I said to him that he is forgiven. And with that, he left. I opened up a white light portal. He walked through. He joined his sister. Oh, it gives me chills just thinking back to it. They both started crying. His parents witnessed all of that. They then crossed over.
All he needed was to be listened to. That's it. But it had to be you. It couldn't be his parents. Couldn't be his sister. It had to be Elizabeth April. Shut the fuck up. That's how I know you're making this up on the spot. Because it's not cohesive. It's not cohesive. He feels guilt and he's ashamed. Yet instead of just going to his parents and saying that, he had to wait X amount of years. I think you said 5 years or whatever. He had to wait 5 years for you to come. So he can finally tell his parents, I'm sorry. Everyone's running and hiding. His parents love him and want him to, but instead of approaching him in spirit form and ghost form, whatever, they just run and hide until Elizabeth April comes around to save the day. Captain Save a Ghost? Shut the fuck up.
Verbally relaying this to the two people who own this house, who are clearly very religious. And
Wait,
so I
thought you said that that all this stuff was only there because of the ghosts. So that would mean that they're not religious. They're using this as like a crutch. Now they are religious. So which one is it? Is it they're actually religious, or is it like you said earlier, where they only have this stuff, the life-size baby Jesus on the table and all the metallic pictures of Jesus and all the crosses and all that you did? Is it because they just had the ghost? Because that's what you said earlier. You were like, it's clear that these people have this stuff because they have this poltergeist or this ghost or whatever. Now you're saying clearly they're religious. Which one is it? See? This is why you have to pause at every little thing that they say. I know it's annoying. I know it makes the video longer, but this is what you have to do because most people are not going to catch that. They're not going to be like, wait, didn't earlier you say almost the complete opposite? They're not going to catch that. And she knows her audience is going to be oblivious to anything other than the stuff that they want to hear.
Apparently everyone's now reunited on the other side. I give a very, very thorough smudging and clearing to every room of the house. And I told the couple there, I said, I think it's important for you to talk to your realtor to see if you can look up the history of this house. And if you have any more poltergeist type experiences, please give me a call and I will come back free.
You don't need to talk to the realtor. You can literally just Google. I mean, if this was, I mean, okay, Google was around when, because I mean, I don't know exactly how old she is. I'm going to say if she's not like 29, then she's in her very early 30s. Because I feel like when I first found out about her, she was like 26, 27. And so that was several years ago, 5-6 years ago. So she's either 29 to 31. I'm gonna guess. So she's 19, 20. Let's say 10, 11 years before that. Google was around since what, 1997, 1998, something like that. So Google would have been around. You could have easily just Googled it, like murders that happened on, you know, or in this neighborhood, or murders that happened in whatever city or town in whatever year or whatever. You don't need to go talk to your realtor, especially if they're not required to disclose any of that stuff. Why would you go to the realtor? Like, I mean, I don't know how Canada works. You can also just go online and, you know, go to your, I mean, I don't know what they call them in Canada, but you can go to the county tax records and get, you know, the records for the house. You can go to the assessors, but like, there's other ways. You don't got to call your realtor. Like, there's other ways that you can do it, but that's neither here nor there.
Charge, and I will do what I can to clear it. Well, about a month later, I get a call from them, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, here we go. You know, whatever, I'm going to have to go back there, or they're experiencing it again. And they tell me that they did a little bit of digging. And the original realtor that sold them that house did not disclose that information, which I think is against the law, or there was something in there that...
We looked it up. This is how I know you're lying. Now, I mean, okay. Not everybody who lives in a country has to be familiar with all the laws of the country. I'm not saying that. Just because I'm an American doesn't mean I know every American law. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I'm not a law student. So maybe she should get a pass on that. But we did look it up, and it's not. It's not required. So, and you own property. You and your wife own property in Canada. So like, I kind of think maybe you would know. It'd be different if you were renting and all that other stuff, or you lived with family, or maybe you and your wife owned the property and you moved in with her, so you don't really know the real estate game and all that stuff. But you own property, from what I understand. You guys have like acres and acres of, like, not farmland, but like land that you live on, and you're kind of like off grid type of a thing. You had to buy that. So I would like to think you should be somewhat familiar with real estate laws in your... I mean, it's weird that you buy a house, but you don't know how it all works and all that other stuff. Like, maybe before the process, but after you go through you should kind of be familiar with the laws and the process. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm harping a little too hard on this. Maybe she should get a pass. I am putting that out there. I'm not trying to throw her bail. But you know, I'm not expecting her to be familiar with every law in her country, but you own property. So it's kind of interesting that you don't know this, but it's not required. So I don't know. You guys make your own. Should she get a pass, or is this something that she should know because she does own property? So she went through the property buying process in Canada. You should kind of know how it works now. So. Hands up, don't shoot.
Yeah. And they were like, this is why the house was so cheap, and this is why we jumped on it, and this was why we thought it was perfect. And so they ended up finding...
How do you know the house was cheap? What, because it was a small house? Maybe that's why it was cheap. It was a small house. Maybe it's a bad neighborhood. Maybe, you know, and we just looked it up. It said they're only required to do things, that the realtors are only required to disclose things that lower the value, which is like damage and stuff like that. Nothing, not a stigma, as it said. We literally looked it up. And then we looked up the different, what do they call it? Provinces? I don't think they're states. I think it's provinces or whatever. I don't know. I'm not from Canada. I've been to Quebec once, but I'm not from Canada. I don't know their rules and their laws, but I think they're called provinces or whatever. We even looked up all the provinces and what their rules were, and Quebec was the only one that was like, maybe, but the courts have interpreted it a little differently here and there. So, come on. And then, of course, if she gets wind of this video, I promise you, she'll go, yeah, it was in Quebec. Of course it was. The one province where it may be required. Come on, man.
And validating what had happened in that house with what I had seen and experienced. And then I asked them, of course, are you guys okay? And how has the activity been in your home? And they validated that there has been no activity, no door slamming, no moving of objects, no night terrors at all, no walking around, nothing since I came to that house. And they said, we can't thank you enough. And I said, okay, fantastic, I did my job. And
you didn't do anything. You closed your eyes and your third eye just magically opened, and now you're seeing movie scenes and you're scrying without scrying. This is why I have a hard time believing these people, because we know from the occult, and every culture around the world, even Canada, has occult systems and traditions. None of them work like that. None of them is just boom, I'm just instantly connected. There's protocol, there's ritual, there's things that you have to do to be able to facilitate those sorts of things. And she didn't mention any of them. She just went in there, lit some sage, closed her eyes, and boom, she's instantly connected. Bull fucking shit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Honestly, for me, it was less about showing up for that couple, which I'm glad that I did, because that feels scary and violating. It was more about showing up for the family that was stuck there, and also that young man who was misunderstood and scared at the end of the day.
And he just couldn't go talk to his parents.
All right, let's move on to our next super disturbing case. And like I said, just trigger warning, guys. This one deals with mental health stuff. It deals with also body dysmorphia stuff, and it deals with entity possession. So I'm just putting it out there.
Is this the anorexic one? She had the spirit of anorexia.
This next case also happened. This was probably maybe about 6 years ago or 7 years ago now. And I had a client. At the time, I was giving one-on-one sessions. I don't do that anymore, so please do not email me about that.
Sorry if you heard my stomach growling. I didn't eat breakfast yet. It's 11:44 in the morning that I'm recording this. I woke up, I fed my dog, and I instantly came in here. I recorded a video prior to this one. I threw some laundry in, and then I'm doing this video. I haven't eaten breakfast or anything yet, so sorry if you heard my stomach growling there. I'm a little hungry. Definitely not hangry, because I while out and crash out all the time on my channel. So it's not, oh, you're hangry, have a Snickers. But I am quite hungry. I need to go eat after this video. So sorry if you heard that growl there.
I was giving client sessions, and one of my clients had a daughter, and her daughter had been struggling with anorexia for, honestly, almost her whole life.
That's terrible and that's sad. You can go get real help for that. You don't need you. You don't need spiritual help. You go get physical in real life help from physical in real life people who will give you physical in real life advice and physical in real life things to do so you can fix your physical in real life issues. You don't need spirituality and energy and all this other bullshit. That's another thing with the New Age. They think that energy and spirituality solves all your problems. It does not. It does not. Even in witchcraft and the occult. I'm sure that there are people who use magic to fix everything. I don't advocate for that. There are things that you can just fucking be a human and fix it like a human would. Every time you and your spouse argue, you don't need to do a spell. Sometimes you just need to go talk to each other. Every time you and your boss are arguing, you don't always need to do a spell of a honey jar or whatever. Maybe just go talk to your boss or your coworker or whatever. Not everything needs a spell or a ritual or a potion or a bottle or a balm or a salva or something like that. Sometimes things can be solved with mundane resolutions. Get some help. You don't need Elizabeth April.
Since about the age of maybe 12 years old, she had struggled with body dysmorphia and eating and purging, binging and purging and all of that. And she had been on the verge of dying for years at the point where I started working with her parents. And, you know, we talked about the soul contracts, we talked about the lessons, we talked about what could be done, how they could best support her.
So basically, it's her fault. That's what a soul contract is. That's what at the end of the day, when you break it down, it's your fault. You signed this soul, your soul signed a contract saying, I'm going to go through anorexia. I'm going to be on the verge of dying. You're a piece of shit. You're an asshole for that. What about the people over in Palestine, over in Gaza right now, that are getting murdered? What about the Ukraine people who are getting murdered? What about children that are getting abused, that are living in homes right now where their step-parents or even their parents or brothers or cousins or whatever, family friends coming over and abusing them? You signed a soul contract. What are you complaining about? You signed a soul contract. Fuck you. Fuck you. That is absolutely heartless. Oh, that's not what we mean, but that is what you mean. When you break it down, when you stop, when you take off the fucking rose-colored glasses and you actually break down these concepts, that's what you're saying. You signed a contract. Shut the fuck up and deal with it. There's a lesson to be learned here. You know what I say to that? Fuck you. You're fucking ridiculous. You're a piece of shit. You're an asshole. I'll call you out of your name for that. That's ridiculous. That's beyond ridiculousness. Fuck you. And fuck your soul contracts. No one is asking to be a victim of war. No one is asking to be a victim of sexual abuse and trauma. But according to your soul contract theory, that's exactly what they're doing. Fuck you.
What she's learning, what they're learning, her soul contracts, all of that, some past lifetimes that involved eating and food. We went over all of that. I did the best that I could with the hour session that I had. I had a couple of sessions with them. It was a couple of months after those initial sessions where I had a very vivid dream. And in this dream, I can still remember it just like it was yesterday. In this dream, I drive up to this house. It was so vivid. It was so vivid. I drive up to this house, and as I drive up to the house and I get out of the car, there is a woman who was my client who opens the front door of the house and says, "Elizabeth, please come on in. Like, we need your help." And I said, "Okay, that's what I'm here for." And I walk into the house, and they said she's in her room. And she was probably, I'm back. Yes. Okay, I'm back. Yes. Okay, I was almost about to stop this and turn it back on again. Sorry about that, guys. Things get weird when you talk about paranormal stuff. So, I walk into this house in this dream, mind you.
Oh no, I've been talking about spiritual stuff, occult stuff, demons, really working with demons, really how to summon demons, really how to summon angels since 2010, but on video since 2021. On video since 2020, 2021. And I have only had maybe one or two times where something happened, where it was like interrupting the stream or the feed, because I think this was a live video that she was doing. This wasn't like a upload. This was a live video. Maybe you just had a drop in the internet really quick. Maybe all at once, 70,000 people in your town got online and it fucked up the internet for a second. Maybe there was a hiccup. Maybe stop it. I hate when people do that. I hate when people who talk about politics and then all of a sudden their stream goes crazy. They're like, oop, it's the CIA, it's the KGB. Maybe in your town, maybe in your neighborhood, wherever you live, Another 200 people just jumped online. Maybe people getting off work, getting off school, and they're connecting to the Wi-Fi when they get home. Their phone connects to the Wi-Fi, or they turn on their computer, or they turn on their Xbox or their TVs, and things start connecting to the internet. And so it fucks up with the connection really quick. Stop blaming everything on spiritual stuff or someone's always out to get me. Stop having a fucking victim mentality. Stop being a fucking victim. Sometimes things just happen, guys. Like, not everything is a spiritual meaning or the government is watching you or some bullshit. Stop it. If the government wanted to stop you, they're not going to fucking mess up your internet. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to have a sniper across the street on the roof of somebody else's house, and you're done for. Or you're going to jail. They'll trump up some charges, and you're going to jail. They're not going to, let's play with this internet connection. What are we, 12?
Very vivid dream. And they say she's in her room, she's in the corner. Walk into her room, and her back is facing me, and she's crouched over into a fetal position. And I recognize this. This is my client. This is their daughter. And all my sessions with them had been over Zoom, so this was my first sort of physical encounter, but it felt so real. And as I step into this room, and I try talking to this girl,
how much time
like I said,
left,
17 or 18 years old.
All right, we got about
there is this
17 minutes.
Dark.
We got about 17 minutes, but the last 3 minutes is more of like her upcoming events and stuff like that. We're not going to watch that. So I guess there's like 15 minutes left of her video. God knows how long it'll be with my commentary, but there's about 15 minutes left in her video.
Black entity that comes out of her, like almost like a smoke entity that emerges out of her. And it talks to me, and it said, I will never leave her, but if you want, I will trade her life for yours. If you let me attach to you, I will leave her, and you can save her.
See, here it is again. She's Captain Save well, in this case, it's not a ghost, but she's Captain Save a Ghost, right? Everybody's waiting for Elizabeth April to come around. So the spirit didn't want to possess her family. I mean, I don't know if it's just a mom and dad and her, but her family, any friends, any classmates. It didn't want to get it. It was waiting for Elizabeth April to come. That's who I want to trade with. You're not Jesus. You're not some special character in some story. You're a regular person. I'm not some special person in some story. Maybe my own story am I special, but I'm not special in anyone else's story other than like a significant other and a child, like my child, blah, blah, blah. I don't have children, but when I have children. But other than that, I'm not some special person in someone's story. I'm a regular person. You're a regular person. This is the second instance where everyone's just waiting for you. There's other people. The mailman could have been a good fit for the spirit, but nope, had to be Elizabeth April. Not the girl's family, not the girl's friends if she had any, not her classmates, not, just people when she's out at the mall or shopping or whatever. None of those people were good enough candidates. We had to wait for Elizabeth April.
But I need you. And I'm not even kidding. I was close to saying yes because I just wanted to save her life.
Shut
and
up,
I just
dude.
felt like she was on the verge of dying. And I felt like I could handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And
sure.
I was so close. And eventually I said no. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I can't do that.
What?
And
why? Now, I don't want to throw you some bail because you'll use this for a future, but I think the audience needs to know, why didn't you go, well, she signed that, like, this is not part of my soul contract. This is part of her soul contract. So that's why I can't take it, right? She signed the contract to go through all of this, so she has to go through this. And if that's the case, what the fuck are you even doing there? You wanted to save her. She signed a soul contract, right? What the fuck are you doing there? She's got to go through it, right?
And it like came at me. And as it came at me, I woke up from the dream. And I never reached out to that client to tell them about this dream. But what I did do is I energetically went over to this girl, asked permission to be there, and I tried to talk the entity out of her body. At that point, I didn't realize that her struggles were actually directly being caused by this energetic entity attachment. And so I did white light, I did energetic healing, I tried to bubble her, I tried to cut cords with the entity, I talked to her higher self, I asked about the soul contracts between her and the entity, and essentially her higher self told me that there was nothing more that I could do. I could give light and love and support and safety from a distance, which is what her parents could do for her. But ultimately, it was up to this girl to find it in her, to want to live, to stand up for herself, to say no to the entity, and to take sovereignty and freedom over her body once again. She needed to do that for herself. I had one more.
So this is just a universal lesson, a spiritual lesson. The gods or God or the aliens or whatever put this on her soul contract because she had to learn this lesson. There was no easier way to learn it. You got to almost die. That's the only way you're going to learn this. Shut the fuck up. Fuck you. This is ridiculous. And your audience is just num 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 num. Stop it. They're eating shit. You're serving your audience shit. Oh, but you sprayed a little paprika on it, so it doesn't necessarily smell like shit. Come on. It's shit. And they're eating it.
Session with her parents, and I told them that. This is her choice. She needs to choose life. And they told me, we know. There is nothing more we can do. And I'm glad that they knew that. And it's kind of sad, especially being a parent now. So
why couldn't the parents reiterate that? Why did she need, why, again, you're Captain Save a Ghost, even though I know this isn't a ghost. Everyone's waiting for you to come around to give the revelation and the saving and the word. But the parents the parents knew, but they weren't being good parents and telling her that. Like, hey, you need to take control of this. And you needed Elizabeth April to come and do it. Some 21, 22-year-old had to come and do it. Shut the fuck up, dude.
And so the struggle went on. She would get better, and then she would get worse, and then she would get better, and she would choose to live, and then she would not. And unfortunately, it's about 3 years later, after those sessions and that dream, she ended up passing away from her illness. I did a whole...
Because it was an illness. It was not a spirit. She had an illness. Don't know what more you need. Why were you there? And not a therapist, not a psychologist, not a psychotherapist or whatever. A psychiatrist, a nutritionist. Nope, Elizabeth April.
Session with the parents, with the sisters, with the family, essentially individual sessions with the family, made sure she crossed over, recorded that, sent that out to everyone, gave them the closure. On the other side, this soul...
That's what funerals were for. We don't need you, Elizabeth April.
Right, this girl was able to talk about her experience with her diagnosis and this entity and basically the lessons and the contracts. And
so you use the word illness and you use the word diagnosis. Those are medical terms. You're not a doctor. What the fuck are you doing there? Why didn't they get medical and mental assistance? Medical and psychiatric assistance. Why didn't they do that? Why'd they call you?
She was at peace. Essentially, when she was able to cross over, she found her peace. And what was so beautiful, okay, there's a bit of a happy ending here. as a soul now, as a ghost, or not a ghost, as a soul, as
she
a
a spirit
free
guide
soul,
now or some bullshit?
she has decided to dedicate herself in the afterlife to coming back to the planet, to being a spirit guide.
I knew. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it.
Just about.
This is insanity. Like, oh my god, these people are so predictable. They're so. This is ridiculous. This is how easy it is to call out these people. You're lying, and your audience is just eating it up. Oh my god. Oh my god.
To enter down the road of mental health and like physical illnesses as well.
Then why the fuck were you there, Elizabeth?
But,
you're not a doctor.
Body dysmorphic type of things. And so she's now stepping in as the spirit guide to talk to these young women to say, you're better than this, and you deserve.
Where was her spirit guides? Where was her higher self? Where was her angels? And where was the Galactic Federation for her? So she can go be this for other people, but there was no one in the history of ever that ever died from anorexia before and decided to come back and help other people. No one else, just her. Shut the fuck up.
Life, and you deserve happiness.
Not her, though.
And don't listen to the internet or whatever, right?
So
that was really beautiful, and it was really nice for her family to hear that as well, that she's now dedicating herself to taking the lessons that she learned, and she did learn, and giving that to others.
What did she learn? Because you said she was on and off and on and off and on and off, and then eventually it killed her. So she didn't get better. What did she learn then? What are you talking about? You're not making your audience doesn't know to pull these things out. All they hear is, "Oh wow, she's a spirit guy. Ooh, wow, hee hee ha." Fucking ridiculous, dude.
I'm kind of wondering if I go into this last story or not.
The gullibility of your audience is ridiculous.
Oh, I don't know.
You're going to go into it, so shut the fuck up.
I don't know. Even the fact that I'm unsure makes me feel like I shouldn't, because it is actually it's just
But what? Let me guess. You're going to go into it because it's important and people need to know and there's lessons. Come on. Spew your bullshit. Come on. Get it out.
Really, really disturbing and unsettling, but there's such an important lesson to it. So here's what I'm going to do.
There it is!
Because we're at a good time now, too. I'm going to give you the lesson of the last story, and I'm going to skip over the story itself. And I know that, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I said this is the most disturbing one, and it is.
Do we even want to listen to this, guys? Like, we're already an hour and a half, and it's an hour and 27 minutes into this. I mean, a part of me is like, you're already an hour and a half in, might as well finish it out, right? But like, we can tell she's bullshitting. And if she's not going to tell us the story, it's just going to be the lesson. I mean, do we really need to hear that? Like, I don't know. I'll play a little bit and we'll see where it goes. But I feel like this is going to be unnecessary. So
it's something that is so disturbing that it's stuck with me not my entire life, but since it's happened. So I'm going to save you the mental load of this next story. I want to mention to you too that as a remote viewer, as a past life regressionist, as someone who has dealt with entities, possessions, ghosts, and spirits, literally since I was born. Like, we are talking like ghosts and spirits walking around me since I was yay high, okay? And now I'm like yay high. Yeah, so I have seen a lot. Like, just think about past life regression alone. I have seen, at this point, I would estimate thousands of lifetimes. We are talking about entire incarnations from the point of birth to the point of death. I have seen
that's not
rituals. I have seen abuse. I have seen trauma. I have seen torture. I have seen murder over and over, and I have seen persecution over and over and over again, vividly. Like, we are talking.
We can see all that on the internet. No need to go to past life regression. Turn on your TV. Turn on the news. Go on X. Click the news tab. There you go. There's all that stuff right there. No need to past life regress.
Like you're watching a movie, okay? That's why I'm gonna skip this last story, because based on everything that I've seen thousands of times over, this one takes the cake, and I'm just gonna save you that mental load. That being said, I wanna talk about the really important lesson that was embodied in this last case. So I'm gonna talk about it generally. Me and a bunch of friends went to Montreal, and this was in, I wanna say maybe 2016. And we rented out a castle. I know, weird. I don't know who does that, okay? We're like, let's go to Montreal, let's rent this castle. There was maybe like 10 of us, and it was a massive castle. We could have had 25 of us. And it was expensive, and there was a lot of rules and regulations. Anyway, little did I know, okay? I did not even think about it. I thought I was gonna go out at night and party and drink and have a great time and, you know, party in this castle. No, okay? As a medium, you don't go to a castle and think you're gonna have a really good time. Immediately we get there, we start drinking, and all of a sudden I am inundated with ghosts and spirits freaking everywhere. Like, this place was full of them to the brim.
Of course.
And at this point, I was pretty intoxicated, and they all, so what's interesting about being a medium or being able to see ghosts is, and I learned this at a young age, when you observe a ghost or a spirit, they see you see them. I don't know how else to put that, but they know that you can see them. Even if you don't have like a shocked look on your face.
But they can't see each other because the parents were hiding in the first story. The ghost parents were hiding from the ghost son, and the ghost son couldn't find them. And Jesus Christ, your stories are not your stories are not coherent. Your lies are not coherent. If you're gonna lie, at least make them straight. You're doing this with your lies, and I'm calling it out. Your audience doesn't catch it. They're not going to catch it. Or if they do catch it, they're just going to brush over it. Not me. Not my audience. We're not retarded.
For some reason, they know that. And so they all came to me. Like, there was a crowd of them huddled around me.
Oh my God.
And that first night, I told them, I will do my best to listen to your stories and help you the best that I can. I will help you cross over, but I think it's inappropriate that I'm intoxicated right now. I mean, I wasn't like sloppy drunk, but I was like, 18, 19 years old, or however, maybe 21 at that point.
And didn't you say you have to close your eyes to open your third eye? If you're drinking and partying, I'm pretty sure you're not closing your eyes and tuning into the energy. So which is it? Do they just appear in front of you and you don't have to do anything? Which is probably what you're saying. Or is it like you said in the first story where you have to close your eyes, tune into the energy, open your third eye? Which one is it, Elizabeth? Your stories are not consistent. There's no consistency. It's just whatever you want in the moment.
And I just thought it was inappropriate to be intoxicated and do that kind of work. So I said, look, let me have a night, let me sober up, and tomorrow I will sit down with hopefully as many of you as I can. And I didn't get to all of them the next day. I got to a lot of them.
Sure you did.
The absolute darkest spirit there, to the point where I didn't think it was a ghost. I thought it was a poltergeist. I thought it was an entity. I thought it was a possession. I thought it was something from a different realm.
You're just randomly stating
the darkest thing in that castle.
I thought it was a poltergeist. Poltergeists aren't even like powerful. The most a poltergeist can do is knocking on the wall and scratches and stuff like that. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
It turns out it was a him. And he gave me his whole life story. And like I said, I'm not going to talk about it because it is just very sad and disturbing. Turns out, okay, that this poor man who looked like a monster. So to everyone else at that time, he was observed as an absolute monster. And he ended up dying looking like a monster.
So
Like,
all your friends are psychics and mediums too? Like, what do you mean to everyone else?
no one understood how he got there. And when you listen to his whole story, it turns out that he was probably the biggest victim of all.
From what?
He was completely misunderstood. And because he was so misunderstood, because no one would listen to him, no one would believe him, he just got more and more separated from light and more separated from love, and just got darker and darker and more disturbed. And I'm telling you that I was able to peel back the darkness, peel back the layers of this individual, of this entity. And I was able to really humanize him. And he had been stuck there in that castle for a very long time.
Why?
And finally, after a long time, I was able to cross him over into the light because I told him that he was forgiven. And all he needed,
See? He needed
was someone
you.
to listen to him.
He needed you.
And I was that person at that time.
The other spirits couldn't listen
And
to
I
him?
was able to cross over some other spirits that were not as dark. But what I learned from that, what I took from that, is that some of the darkest energies in this world and in other dimensions and realms are actually some of the brightest souls.
All right, we're going to end it there. I'm not going to, let her BS more. This is ridiculousness. Elizabeth April, you're a fucking liar. You are a fucking liar. Your stories are not consistent. I literally picked apart each little contradiction that you made and how your abilities work and how spirits work and how these ghosts are supposedly interacting with each other. If we go through these comments, no one's going to ask any questions. It's just going to be a bunch of, let's see, was this disturbing? Not at all. It was a lovely reminder to consider the truth about why we're here. Blah, blah, blah. EA, with the amount of dark energies you've witnessed in this life, I'm amazed at your contribution and enthusiasm. Madness is sadness. They are the same. All it takes is love. It seems the biggest monsters are the biggest victims there's no questions. Everyone just believes it, just eats it up. No one's asking any questions. No one's like, hey, you said this at the beginning, but 10 minutes later you said this. That contradicts. Can you clear that up a little bit? No one's asking any questions. I love this video. Your son is going to say, yeah, mom's a badass. If anyone else has noticed, she has a lot of technical issues recording these videos. I wonder if it has to do with her frequency clashing with the technology. Shut the fuck up. That's not a thing. Oh my God. A Tibetan Buddhist saying goes, embrace thy 10,000 demons. In Jungian terms, it means to accept and integrate your anima animus. No one's asking any questions. I've had a few spirit encounters on the astral plane. These are so beautiful. There are 3 primary entities: karmic, parasitic, and hybrid. What? Beautiful stories, EA. Thanks for sharing. No one's asking any questions. No one's trying to get clarification. Everyone's just eating it up, believing it, falling for the BS. This is ridiculous, guys. This is absolute ridiculousness. And I hope you guys can see that. All right. I'm going to call it here, guys. Thank you for checking out this video, for hanging out with me for an hour and a half or so. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Again, if you're not already a member of my school, please consider joining my school. The link will be in the bio, school.com/themysticalrebel, / the Mystics Conclave 1285. It's this right here. We're a brand new community. It's not a brand new platform, but we're a brand new community. As of this recording, I only started it a day or two ago. I haven't even really been marketing it, so there's not many of us in here. I've got a pretty large following on TikTok, so I'm trying to move everybody over here. I've got a nice following on Patreon. I've got a pretty good following here on YouTube, so hopefully I can get a lot of you guys over to the school platform so we can learn together there. There's more than just videos here on school. There's a classroom, there's a calendar, so you guys can see, what are the upcoming things that I'm doing, whether it's lessons, lectures, courses, live streams, Q&As, debates, whatever. That'll be here on the calendar. There's leaderboards to see, who is the most helpful in this community who is, offering assistance and helping others along their path. So please do consider joining my school and join the fight against the new age, the paranormal, and the occult conspiracy nonsense, and learn to harness legitimate occult abilities to create the life that you want. Link will be in the bio. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Elizabeth April, fuck you. Fuck all this nonsense. This is bullshit. You can't defend any of this. Of course, if you ever see this video, if assuming that you respond, it'll just be nonsense like, oh, don't lower yourself to that. And it's only because you have no defense. It would be very easy to shut me up and to show me out and to, debunk me. That should be quite easy if what you're saying is the truth. But it's not easy because what you're saying is not the truth. You're a liar. You're a scammer. And your audience is falling for it. So with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. As always, seek the mysteries. Peace.